Lord, keep me day by
Sheltered down in pandemic crisis in the Commonwealth of Virginia, this short story may have missed your news feed, but on April 22nd, 1 month after the decree of a broad sweeping emergency order that has transformed our lives, even in a suburb of the nation's capital, the newly elected Democrats must make an unscheduled return to the State House in Richmond to reconsider some legislation that was passed during the approach of a pandemic crisis, but which they failed in consideration of the impacts. And in a strange irony, we find dedicated secular humanists, agnostics and atheists who somehow failed to make provisions for the hereafter. But as amusing as that situation may appear on a simple reiteration of just those facts, what made this pandemic crisis story more intriguing is the fact that after an order was issued to demand that all persons stay home in their homes unless they are performing absolutely necessary work, when the state legislatures returned to revisit the shortcomings of their policies and choices, swiftly considered and enacted after recovering a majority of the seats in the legislature, they have made their decision for reasons of safety not to enter the State House chambers for which they fought so hard to gain, but rather will convene for a full day outside in the open air. And so the question arises necessarily that if you were safe in your home for an indefinite period, as even Don Beyer has repeatedly assured us, with messages to do your part to combat coronavirus, not by coming out like he encourages us to do at each election period, but to stay inside your home until the governor sounds the all clear, what reason might his devoted lieutenants in the State House have to find them so sore afraid of entering a simple building for a few moments to discuss some social policy issues, minding social distancing rules and protocols, and return back to the safety of their homes indefinitely? Well, they have not articulated a reason as of yet, just like the governor has not articulated a reason as to why he issued a drastic order during what even the Department of Health described as a low risk, even after having waited a month, not just a month, 3 months, before the first reported case of infection in the United States, and at least 2 weeks after the first reported case in the Commonwealth of Virginia arrived. But in a recent court action that has received no reporting in the press, there has been proposed a theory to explain the novelties that are exhibiting in a novel coronavirus, which tend to validate a conclusion that it is not simply a natural phenomenon, but more likely has been deployed as a weapon of mass destruction, fully capable of choosing where it wants to direct devastating power, and most effective in closed spaces when persons are contained for prolonged periods, such as on cruise line ships, where, in a case studied by the Centers for Disease Control, infection continued even during periods of quarantine, affecting as much as 26% of those who had been exposed. And apparently, even the Democrats are taking that suggestion very seriously, because if they just maintain the social distancing policies that they have been advising all of us to do on April 22nd bring their do-it-yourself mask if they want to avoid infecting themselves and others in Richmond, they would have no reason at all to be compelled to meet outside, as they have proposed. And so unless they plan for us all to enjoy the great outdoors indefinitely until the governor sounds the all clear, it may be a good time for them to be thinking about a plan for how they plan to live running away from an invisible enemy that can attack when and wherever it wants. Honest. This advertisement was authorized by Mike Webb.